Welcome. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever and at what time you are. Today we are meeting Bernd Munsteiner. He's one of the most famous gemstone makers in Idar-oberstein. On the occasion of an exhibition at the Bengel Foundation, it's a duo exhibition, Dieter Lorenz and Bernd Munsteiner, Twin Peaks from Dieter Lorenz, and Impressions in Agate by Bernd Munsteiner. The exhibition will take place from the 13th of August until the 8th of October, as said in the Bengel Foundation in Idar-oberstein. Good morning, Bernd Munsteiner. Welcome. Thanks for your willingness to do an interview with us. You've been educated in Pforzheim at the University of Applied Sciences, and after that you came back to Idar-oberstein, where you have been working with gemstones, in fact, all of your life.
I'm a stone cutter in the third generation. I was working as a child with my father and with my grandfather. So I love stones and crystals from the beginning of my life. It's the most and the interesting things of the world to speak with crystals, to speak with stones. It is just normally, if you live in a little village near Idar-oberstein, where I'm born, that you have a look on the world outside. About my time I was learning, I understand that what I'm doing and normally in industrial projects, that is not my life. So I always had the idea to do something different and looking to the agate in this time mostly, and that's such a fantastic material with stripes, with a lot of color and all this. So, and then I starting to experiment a little bit for myself. That was the beginning, let's say, to think about maybe I like to go to a school. And then I visit some friends in Augsburg. On the trip to Augsburg, I stopped in Pforzheim. And I go in the school and it was a completely new world. And I go to the secretary, and Professor Schollmeier, the director of the school, was just there. And he looked and said, what this young man, what he like to do? I say, I'm a stone cutter, and I'm interested to know what is going on in this school. And he said, what, you are a stone cutter? I have no stone cutter in my school. And he told me, in 14 days, we have an examination for the next semester. He told me, please come and you come to my class. So I come at home and of course I need to tell my father, okay, and then start a completely new world. There was people from all the world, students from Brazil, from Sweden, from Australia. It was in this time, was really, let's say, a starting again after the war. It is also the discussion with my friends and students from all the world that we find out that the stones are only traditional cuts. And Schollmeier, he understands this very, very well in the first beginning. And he said, there is something we can do. And of course, it was not easy. The school had not the possibilities that I could work there. So I need to look for the machines and for the tools and whatever we need. So I helped to install a workroom. Yes, and okay, it starts. It starts, and it starts with a new world, with a new vision. It was also a time you had the idea you can change the world, but of course, but it was a little bit changed. As I start, I make only stones. And I'm learning also beside to make jewelry with these stones. And but I had so much to do with the stones, but there was no teacher which could help me really, because the whole world was traditional cuts, which are, by the way, 500 years and more. In the time of the Renaissance, they find out is the horizontal curving wheel to make these facet stones, and that is always the same until today, to 99% in all the world. So in the beginning, it was not so easy to find a completely new way, and the only thing which I started was by Professor Schormeyer asked me, you know about the traditional engravings, So I go in museums and looking to the Tasse-Verlese and all these things, and he told me, maybe you can find out what we can do today in this direction. And that was, let's say, one point which I understand that there is a big chance to change the whole world for stone cutting and for also engraving. I was not an engraver, so I had not the machines to do this. And so I found out there was a sandblast machine in the basement, and so I start to make experiments with mask and with this machine, and on the end, I found out I could make some graphical designs on the agate. And let's say the first things was, it was crazy. On the same time, I was looking with crystal. I was living in a crystal. So it's the most important. You study your nature products which you like to work with. It was from the beginning on fascinated to work with such big crystals, because you have more possibility to bring out the character of the crystal together with the inclusions in the crystal, and also with your cutting, reflecting perspectives, then come inside selecting and a lot of other thinking what you can do with stone cuts. In the 90s, I started with very big sculptures. I found a crystal of 840 kilos, rock, rutilated quartz. It was crazy. And I started to make sculptures of 50 kilos. One of my most important clients, and which helps me my whole life, was Michael Scott. Michael Scott was the first director of Apple Computer, and he was just beginning of the 80s, was retired. And he liked my sculpture, especially my sculpture. So I had also, let's say, a friend and a client, which really, that was so important that if you make a sculpture of 50 kilo and nobody had seen something like this and was, he was interesting, he take it. So it helped me to do other things. Huh? you need really go in a crystal. I mean, it's not just to look how. So you go inside, you stay and you look and meditate, and you see things which you normally not see, and that is also that's the language the crystal speaks with you. That's what is inside. Let's say the ideas come from this crystal. What you do, there is always inspiration. Is it in nature? Sometimes it's people. You speak with somebody and you get an idea. But with crystals, it is speaking between the crystal and me. So it's not that I take a crystal and starting at the next moment. But let's say that Don Pedro's is the most important piece of aquamarine. I had in 3 months on my table. And every morning I started to speak with this crystal. So it is nothing which comes spontaneously. So always you need time. And then one day it is the point you start. Always correctly. It's always the same thing. And always, if I'm finished, there are the next ideas. Every piece is just on the way to a new piece. But you need to find the material. This is the most important. I go to Brazil from 74 every year. And so I go to the mine, and mostly the idea, if you see a crystal, there is an idea, okay, but important is you see this crystal where it comes out the world, the earth, and this is a story. That's the beginning even of a new piece. And so if you come home, you think a lot about it, and I also make some drawings. Let's say for the Don Pedro, I had 110 drawings, and think about the philosophy, how I like to cut it, and sometimes you need to look to the inclusions, and there is also a new world which gives you a lot of ideas. What is a gemstone from the history? You know, it was always the light which come out, the fire which come out. That was the fascination of the people about gemstone. So I also study as a gemologist, and I know about lighting, about total reflection. I know about this, and I find out it is, if you understand what it means that the light reflects in a stone and comes back, then you understand what is this fascination. And so for me, this is very normal to look for the light, because that is not always, let's say, there are other materials like lapis lazuli or garnets, green garnets, or something like this, or black jade, or jade, green jade. There's different. That's very different. But the crystals, aquamarine, tourmaline, rocker stone, amethyst, citrine, all these stones which reflect light, there is, in my philosophy, also important that really comes this reflection that you can see. In 1997, I gave my atelier to my son, Tom. And because he was very talented, and I think to designer is not a good idea, so he started to work with stones with his own creativity. So that means I don't cut stones from this time on. So I had some projects which I liked very much. That was these wall ornaments. I had always the vision that I come back to the agate. And so, because I didn't cut stones for my life, so I do what I want. Beginning of 2000, there I was looking for something, maybe with the agate and something. So then I see the windows in the cathedral in Köln of Richter. Oh, I was fascinated. I think, wow. And that was the point. I said, okay, these windows are glued on glass. The glass on the glass. So, why can I not work the same way with agate? Then I speak with Tom, and Tom was from the beginning not so much interested with agate because he had so much to do with tourmaline and all these stones. But then he find out there is something very special. I say this book, if we do something in this direction, it is too big for myself. And he also start to think about this. So then I start in 2011 to make a trip to Brazil to look to the agates. I had some in my collection, which was good, which I start, but I need to have more. And so I buy 1 ton of nature colored agate, which slice the stone in small 2 millimeter. And then we start to make the parts of the agate which we like to have. It's a project about 3, maybe 4 years. It's also not easy because whatever we do, it is for forever. It is not for only 10 years. You feel the atmosphere and also the color, and agate was the perfect color field which goes together with this church. If I'm inside, it is always fascinated. I feel good, and I think, maybe we can do more in this direction. And in the last years, I start to make some wall ornaments with agate, but also I starting to work with other materials like mutilated quartz, like lapis lazuli, like ruby. And then I make also smaller objects which you could take for jewelry. Okay, that's my life the last 10 years. agate is the most colorful. Then agate has inside lines, stripes, color fields, like the crystallization, so that you have a point to play, to find out direction and line, and it is so fascinating. If you, of course, I know agate has not a very good name because they make ashtrays and I don't know, it's crazy. But I get crazy if I see it because it's so much better. And I think if we finished with all this, I get a other face. I get a completely other face, and people, I think people understand to respect this stone much more. I know this also because of rutilated quartz. If I start with rutilated quartz, which was always fascinating for me, there was rutilated quartz, nobody could take it's a cheap stone. As I was finished with my big sculptures and with all what I'm doing with rutilated quartz, he get really quite expensive, the rough stone. But if you think about the rutilated quartz and you think about this wonder of nature, that in a rock crystal are such fine needles, like angel hairs, and you cannot understand how it works. But if you don't see this, and if you don't go inside and look it, then you cannot understand it. Yeah. But if, of course, if an object is finished, you have something, you can be fascinated or say, I don't like it, whatever. But for me, but it helps to respect a stone. Yeah, I mean, I know the work of Dieter Lorenz my whole life, and I tell you, I have some in my collection of him because I was fascinated, because I was one of the only engraver in Idar-oberstein which understand to make engravings which go in our time, not looking to the picture how it looks and do the same. Every piece of him was a small sculpture and sometimes a bigger sculpture. He was always, he understand agate special. He was special working in agate, but also with rutilated quartz, and he has a good feeling. He was a nature talent. If he was ill, I visit him. And he made a gift. He gave me a crystal. I say, well, what, Dieter, what is going on? No, I like to pay. And he said, no. We are friends our whole life, and he sent me some clients, and he was always the only one which respect my work. And he told me, I starting now also to make some wall ornaments. And you are, I was looking through your things, and I think I can do a little bit, so much as possible. And I look what he's doing, and I was fascinated. And I said, Dieter, we make an exhibition together. And that was the beginning. And of course, it gave him a little bit of push, because he was ill at this time, and nobody knows how long. And said, I said, come on, Dieter, we make this exhibition, and you need to work. And Yeah, I speak with Willy Lindemann and I told him, let's say, Dieter Lorenz, there is no book, there is nothing. We need to do something. And so it was the idea to do it together for this exhibition, which now starting. And I think Dieter will be very happy if he look from there and see what we're doing. And it was fascinating to speak this last year with him, what we do many times, and he was very shy. He doesn't come so much publication and such things. He doesn't like so good. But on the end, Willy Lindemann write a wonderful article about him, and I'm so happy that we know this wonderful man, what he has done in all his life.